Hi, today I'm going to cover the top 5 problems we encounter when people start fasting and how to deal with them. And it's coming right up. Problem number 1, headaches or dizziness sometimes. A lot of people as they start fasting get headaches. And nobody's exactly clear as to the mechanism why they get headaches. I had the same thing when I first started. Luckily, they tend not to be very severe and they tend to go away once you start getting used to it. The most likely explanation is that you get a little bit dehydrated. The same thing can cause dizziness. Remember that when you're fasting, insulin levels go down because insulin is a nutrient sensor. It tells you that food is coming in. When no food is coming in, insulin levels tend to fall. As they fall, you start to pee out more fluid because insulin acts on the kidneys to tell your body to reabsorb some water. With the low insulin levels, you're going to pee a little bit more, and because of that, you might get a little dehydrated, and that dehydration can sometimes cause headaches, and sometimes, if your pressure goes a little on the low side, dizziness as well. The best thing we found for this is to take some salt. You can sometimes just put a pinch of salt on your tongue. You can put some salt in water. If you're just starting out, then you might consider using one of the fasting training wheels that contain some salt. So things like pickle juice, for example, or bone broth. While not a classic water-only fast, it allows you to get lots of salt if the idea of drinking salty water doesn't appeal to you. Problem number 2, constipation and sometimes diarrhea. Again, nobody's exactly sure what the mechanism of diarrhea is. And it's thought that it's the same mechanism. The body is trying to get rid of water. As the normal mechanism of getting rid of water is to pee out more, sometimes the colon also doesn't reabsorb all the water that's going through it. As the colon doesn't reabsorb the water stays in the lumen and therefore comes out as watery stools or diarrhea. Some people are taking magnesium as supplements, and that can cause diarrhea as well, and that's something that you can watch out for. The constipation is a little bit easier to understand. If there's less food going in, well, there's going to be less coming out, and that's entirely normal. Oftentimes, the bowel movements, if you've been regular once a day, you might see it every 2 or every 3 days. The key, though, is that it shouldn't feel uncomfortable. Constipation is only uncomfortable when you've got a lot of stuff in there that's not coming out. That's when you need to take the laxative. If there's not a lot of stuff in there to come out, it shouldn't feel uncomfortable. So you can do one of 2 things for the constipation. You can either just leave it if it's not bothering you too much, or you could also try some bulking agents. So things such as psyllium husk, which are a lot of fiber, that can bulk up the stools and sometimes get rid of the constipation. With regards to the diarrhea, again, oftentimes it slows down or stops, but if it doesn't, then you can also try a bulking agent. That is the psyllium husk or Metamucil, that kind of thing, is going to lend bulk and sort of soak up some of that water so that it's not so watery. It'll be more semi-solid and you'll be able to do it past that more comfortably. If you're taking magnesium, especially laxatives, then you might want to cut back on that. And the other thing some people try to do for short periods of time is a dry fast. That is, instead of drinking water and hydrating during the fast, sometimes it may be easier not to drink anything. But keep in mind that with dry fasting, you want to limit that to less than 24 hours because you can get dehydrated very easily. Problem number 3, high or low blood glucose. Most of the time, when you're not eating, your body's going to be using your stores of glucose, and therefore glucose tends to fall but stay in the normal range because the body is going to pull back out some of the glucose that it's stored away. If you're on medications, then certainly it can go low, particularly if you're taking insulin or sulfonylurea. However, if you're not taking these medications, it should never go low enough that you feel symptomatic. That is, you feel sweaty, you feel shaky, that kind of thing. It's a good idea if you're taking medications to make sure you speak to your doctor and also monitor your blood glucose very closely. Sometimes we get the opposite problem. People don't eat and notice that their blood glucose goes up. That's strange, they think. If I haven't eaten anything, why is my blood glucose going up? And what you have to ask yourself is this. If your blood glucose is going up and you haven't eaten, where is that glucose coming from? Well, there's really only one place. It's your own body's store of glucose. Remember that while fasting, your body wants to bring back out the glucose into the blood from its stores in the liver so that you have glucose in the blood to use for energy. If your liver is jam-packed full of glucose, sometimes that bringing the glucose back out is a little exuberant and the blood glucose actually goes high. Just remember that you're simply moving the glucose from the liver into the blood. If you eat again, it'll go back in, but it's nothing that's particularly worrisome. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or you have to change anything, but it does mean that you do have a bit of work to go to get rid of the excessive stores of glucose. Problem number 4, insomnia. People sometimes have so much energy when they fast that they can't actually sleep. The reason for this is the counter-regulatory hormones. When you fast, the hormone insulin is going to go down, but other hormones go up. And this includes noradrenaline, which is one of the sympathetic nervous system, which actually pumps up your body. What it's trying to do is pull some of the glucose back out, but also energize the body so you can go out and hunt or gather or whatever you need to do. Because some people have stored up so much energy, as they start to pull out this energy, they actually have too much energy and they find that they can't sleep. There's nothing to do about that other than to sort of ease into the fasting, but you can also make sure that you're doing good sleep hygiene, which is relaxing before bedtime, turning off the screens, maybe some blue light blockers, doing something relaxing. Before going to bed, you could try some Epsom salt baths. Some people find that helpful with the magnesium. It helps relax them. So there's different ways of improving that. And problem number 5, acid reflux or heartburn. Some people suffer from heartburn, which is the stomach acid going back up into the esophagus. Because the esophagus is not meant to deal with very acidic stuff, it burns. And that's what's called heartburn. It's more common in people who are overweight. And when you're fasting, there's nothing in the stomach to sort of soak up that acid, so the acid might come back up. As you lose weight, it does get better because when you lose some of your abdominal width, there's less pressure pushing the acid back up. But while you're trying to lose that weight, the acid reflux or heartburn can be a problem. In this situation, there are several things that you can try. One of the things that seems to be a little bit counterintuitive is some people add an acid, like maybe some dilute lemon juice or a little apple cider vinegar and water. And it seems very strange. Why would you be taking acid if the problem is too much acid? And it works for some people because it stimulates the stomach to start moving. This peristalsis is going to start moving the stomach acid down the proper way rather than going back up. If that doesn't work for you, you can always use antacids. You can also talk to your doctor about medications. You can lift the head of the bed so you're using gravity to pull it down. And you can also adjust your fasting duration so that you're not going too long at one time. You can gradually ease into it. Those are the top 5 problems we see when people are fasting. You'll notice that I didn't cover hunger because that's actually covered in a separate lecture, and I would encourage you to have a look at my videos to how to deal with hunger. It's a bigger topic than we can deal with here. Thanks very much. I'll see you next week.